Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea and today I'm going to be talking about my acne journey. I've been wanting to do a video about this for a really long time because when I was going through my acne journey, I was struggling to find videos that were really helpful and kind of led me on the right path. Sorry, if I look down, it's because I've got all of my notes here. There's a lot to get through. I'm going to leave timestamps down in the description box below if you just want to skip through. There will be a couple of sections, so I'll be talking about before I went on Roaccutane, during Roaccutane, the side effects of Roaccutane, and post Roaccutane. Also, disclaimer, this is just my experience with Roaccutane and yours might be completely different, so make sure you head to a dermatologist or a doctor and they can give you the correct information for you. So through high school, I was getting a couple of pimples here and there. It wasn't too crazy, just pretty much normal puberty pimples, time of the month pimples, that kind of thing. And after I left high school, I was still getting them here and there. It was picking up a little bit, but I didn't really take too much notice of it. It was easily covered up with makeup, so it wasn't really a big deal. After I went vegan, I thought that might clear up a lot of things, and it really didn't. It just kind of kept getting a little bit worse, and I started to notice it at the end of 2018. I started taking a couple of photos because I was looking at it, and especially around my chin, it was starting to get quite blocked up and a little bit more swollen, and it was just starting to bother me a little bit. And I'll put up a couple of photos here of that period of time, and it wasn't too bad looking back on it. I was trying a couple of alternative methods to clear it up. So I was focusing a little bit more on my diet, drinking more water, trying not to touch my skin and making sure I'm cleansing. That kind of seemed to work for a little bit. Towards the end of summer, it wasn't too bad, but I went through a breakup around that time. So I was under a lot of stress, and if there's any evidence that stress can literally destroy your skin, this is it. So check it out. It is so bad. It went from kind of a couple of spots to really thick under the skin, swollen. There's probably a couple of reasons why this happened. My diet was not good at all. I was stress eating, I was stress picking, and I was not getting the appropriate amount of sleep. I was, going out partying and drinking a little bit more. And then of course, being really emotional and stressed out at that time, it completely just fell apart. And I was feeling really uncomfortable at this time because I was newly single. I was going out a little bit more, meeting more people, and I started to get really, really self-conscious about it. Now, I work in the entertainment industry, so it's my job pretty much to have a full face of makeup on pretty much every time I go to work, and I was finding that I was literally smothering my face in foundation. I was sweating with all of this makeup on, and this was again over the time of summer, so it was very hot. I was packing on makeup and it was sweating, and my skin just started to like puff out, and my pores were getting so swollen, and it was disgusting. And so I just kept putting off seeing a dermatologist, and then it just got to a point where I was like, no, I need to do this. I will pay any kind of money. It's ridiculous, it's out of hand, and I'm worried that it's going to start really scarring soon. And so I went to the dermatologist, and he literally looked at me straight away and said, oh my god, you should have been here 4 years ago. It's probably worth mentioning too that my whole family has really struggled with acne, and we're a really fit, healthy family. Like, my parents always fed me lots of fruits and vegetables. I was brought up in a vegetarian diet. I was vegan at this point in time as well, so I wasn't having any dairy, and I was trying to cut down on sugar and everything, but I think it was just a genetic problem with me. It's kind of annoying that no one really pushed me in the direction of going to see a dermatologist. I would just see a GP and they would just give me some creams, but it's not really sustainable to have cream on your face all the time, especially when it's filled with such harsh chemicals. After I visited my dermatologist, I got a prescription for Roaccutane, and all up, the dermatologist visits definitely cost the most, and I was on private health at the time as well, but I didn't really get much money back for those visits. The medication itself is pretty inexpensive as far as medication goes. I think it was about $40, and you would get a significant amount of Roaccutane. So I guess we're gonna move on to this segment of the video, which is my Roaccutane experience. I started taking Roaccutane in May of 2019. So I started off taking 20 milligrams a day for 2 weeks, and then I added in 3 more 20 milligrams over the course of the week. So I would take 2 on 3 days of the week. And then I did that for 2 weeks. After that, I went to 2 tablets a day, so 40 milligrams every single day. Almost immediately, I saw results, and I don't know if you could call them results or just side effects. Basically, my skin got better and then it got really, really bad. So at the beginning, it was kind of leading me into like this false sense of security that it was just going to clear up straight away. That's not the case. I even recall my dermatologist saying, don't look into a mirror for 6 months and you'll be fine. And I mean, someone who works in the entertainment industry, that is the last thing I wanted to hear. I was so worried about guests taking photos of me at work, and literally every day I don't think I could have put on any more makeup, even if I just had to go to the shops. And my dermatologist did recommend not using any makeup, but obviously for my job I had to wear makeup, and he suggested using a light mineral based makeup. But at the time I was just happy using what I was used to, and I wasn't prepared to go out and spend a lot of money on new mineral based products that might not work and are probably not stage standard. Now, I was pretty naughty when I was on Roaccutane. You're definitely told there are certain things that you shouldn't do, and those things are drink and go out into the sun. I did both of those things. I had an America trip booked about 2 months after I started Roaccutane, and I traveled through the desert and I was on top of mountains, which has really bad exposure to UV. And I found that I wasn't actually getting sunburnt any more than usual, but I was getting heat rash. I distinctly recall going on a hike in the Grand Canyon, and I started feeling my elbow skin start to peel off, and I was just so shocked at what was happening. I didn't really understand why I was losing the skin on the insides of my elbows. And I know that's a pretty common eczema spot for some people. I don't really suffer from eczema, but it definitely gave me some eczema side effects, especially on my eyes and on like in the crevices of my elbows and knees and stuff like that. I was hiking in the Grand Canyon and I just felt my skin start to heat up, and it was mostly on my arms, and I kind of started to realize that I was getting heat rash, and because my skin was heating up so badly in those areas, my skin would start to peel off and I'd have these really big scabs along my arms. Sorry, this is really gross and TMI, but that's just what happened for me. I didn't get sunburn on my shoulders or anything like that any more than usual, but I was getting these really big patches of heat stroke, and it was really, really sore, and it took forever to heal. So just keep that in mind, that it's not necessarily the sun, it's actually the heat that your skin can react to. So on top of getting heat rash, I was getting pretty much every side effect that they tell you about. And that is, you're really tired, you get joint pain, sore skin, heat rash, chapped lips, eczema, depression. Now, depression was probably the worst side effect I got, and it lasted pretty much from day one of starting Roaccutane all the way to the end. It didn't get better. I didn't get used to it. If I would take the pill at say 8 o'clock in the morning, most days by 2 p.m, the tired depression black cloud would just come over me, and I would feel so stuck and miserable and unhappy for the rest of the day. I remember getting into these really big bouts of depression where I would just go home and cry and cry and cry, and I really didn't know why. And I knew that that was a side effect going into it, but you really can't prepare for how terrible you'll feel. And I wasn't really getting depressed for how my skin was reacting, because my skin was, by 2 weeks, coming out so much. I had open wounds, it was sore, it was terrible to look at. But I felt because it was kind of moving in the right direction, I wasn't too unhappy about that. So that was fine, and that's something that they do say about the whole depression side effect, is that you just get it because your skin gets worse. I didn't find that was the case. I knew that my skin was going to get better, so I felt okay about that. It literally was like a chemical or hormonal imbalance from the medication that made me feel so unhappy. And I feel like it's all about your mindset too. I did a lot of research going into this journey, and I knew that there were going to be really bad side effects, and so I kind of went in with a strong mindset thinking that I would just have to combat these issues as they came up. A lot of people talked about getting chapped lips, and yes, chapped lips are the worst. My idea of going in was that my lips were practically going to fall off, and they didn't. They just got really sore, and if I didn't have lip balm, it would be really, really bad. But if I just had lip balm on all the time, it was fine. And so that's one thing that I kind of overestimated, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I actually had some really good positives come out of it. The way Roaccutane works is that it kind of dries up all of your oil reserves in your body. So that means that there's no oily skin and no oily hair. I found that I didn't even have to wash my hair once a week. I did because I just like the feeling of washed hair, but my hair was so shiny and blonde all the time. It was wonderful. So that was something that I was really sad about when I did stop Roaccutane, because your oil reserves do come back, but your skin doesn't react as badly. So my skin does get oily now, especially if I've had an oily meal. My hair definitely needs to be washed once or twice a week now, which is a bit of a bummer because it was so nice to have fresh hair all the time. So I think it's worth mentioning the products that I used throughout my Roaccutane journey. I had 3 that I definitely could not have lived without, and that was my Cetaphil moisturizing cream, my Horror lip balm, and my micellar water. So micellar water has changed my life. I didn't really use it before going on Roaccutane, but my dermatologist suggested it because it is an oil-free way of taking off your makeup, and is so good. I still use it to this day to kind of cleanse my face and get the oil off, and I find that it's the best way to keep my skin clear even now. My Horror chapstick is a vegan brand, and it comes in so many flavors, and it's honestly the best lip balm. I even got my boyfriend Rory onto it. It's so good and really cheap from your health food stores in Australia. The Cetaphil moisturizer, I kind of went through about 3 or so moisturizers at the beginning. Obviously there was a lot of dry skin, and I kind of had to figure out as fast as I could which creams were going to help. At the beginning I got massive eczema patches around my eyes, and nothing would make it go away. I had eczema creams, oils, natural things, everything you can think of, and nothing would help it, or at least soothe it. And I ended up just using normal Cetaphil moisturizer. You have to get the oil-free one, that's really important. And my eczema cleared up in only a couple of days, which was really good. And I still keep using Cetaphil to this day. It's one of the best products to use if you're trying to stay away from oil products. One thing that I had to learn really quickly is that you should not touch your face or pick your face under any circumstances. And it's really easy to look in the mirror and start picking and touching, but I found out that on Roaccutane, because your skin is so sensitive, as soon as you touch something, it would just blow up and become this really irreversible scab. Even if you didn't pick it as much as you think you did, it always ended up worse, and it was so much easier, although harder, to leave it alone, because it does heal a lot slower, but after you do let it heal, it will just cover over and there'll be less scarring. At about the 6-month mark, I found myself really struggling. I was really tired and very emotional and sad and grumpy, and I found myself daydreaming of the time where I didn't have to take Roaccutane. My skin was very clear at this point, and I did some research, and they said that you should stop taking Roaccutane a couple of weeks or a month after your last pimple had kind of come out on your skin. And it had been a few weeks since my last major pimple had come out. I was over it by that point. It was really painful, and I was heading into summer again, which meant that it was only going to get hotter and more uncomfortable. I know that I probably should have gone back to the dermatologist, but at that time every dermatologist visit was $300, and I didn't want to go back to the dermatologist just for him to tell me something that I didn't want to hear or that I already knew. I know that it's the last thing you should do, but at that time it just felt like I didn't really care what anyone was going to tell me. I just wanted to stop taking the medication. After about 4 months, I had dropped down to just taking 1 tablet again every day. So even though I was on a lesser dosage, I was still struggling with the side effects really badly. And at that point, I kind of just reached my wit's end. I was over it, so I just stopped cold turkey, and I felt great straight away. I was starting to bounce back and feel a little bit more like myself, although all of the side effects didn't clear up for weeks after that. My skin was probably the first thing to go back to normal, so my lips became normal again. My skin wasn't as dry, and that kind of went back to normal really, really quickly. As far as the tiredness and depression goes, that took a little bit longer to get back to normal again. I did a bit of research, and I know that other people kind of felt the same, that it took a little while for their mood to bounce back, up to even a year. So who knows, in 6 months time, I might even feel a little bit better, but at the moment I feel pretty good and I feel like I'm more myself again. So my first pimple after I stopped Roaccutane came up probably 2 weeks later, and let me tell you, I got so anxious. It took a lot of talking to Rory to calm me down and go, yeah, okay, it's only 1 pimple, see what happens. Now since then I have had many pimples. It's been 6 months after I stopped Roaccutane, and I definitely noticed that I get a lot of pimples around my hairline. I guess that's where the sweat and dirt kind of builds up a little bit more. I don't touch them at all anymore. I just leave them alone and they kind of clear up eventually, and the pimples are nowhere near as big as they used to be. So at the moment they're just tiny little dots that might come up, or they might just be like a little red blemish. But before Roaccutane and on Roaccutane, there would be these big, massive, sore lumps in my skin that were just, you just couldn't cover them up with makeup no matter how hard you tried. But with the pimples now, I can easily cover them up with makeup, but I don't want to. I really don't like wearing makeup anymore, especially if I'm just going out to the shops or anything like that. I find myself looking in the mirror and just not really caring about my skin, and it's not the first thing that I look at. I am still recovering from the scarring. Now, going on Roaccutane, it is a very big change to your skin in a short amount of time, and it is quite traumatic for your skin. Because it all came out so quickly, I have developed a lot of scars around my cheeks and my forehead and my chin, and that still hasn't quite healed up yet. Eventually I will look into getting it all smoothed over, especially if it is maybe next year and it still hasn't healed up. But I find that every week, every month, if I take another update photo, it seems to be clearing up and smoothing over on its own. So I'm just gonna let it do its thing for a little while. Also, I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna see how it goes. So I hope this video has helped you in any way. I know when I was going through my journey, I really wanted to relate to someone else and see if anyone else had experienced the same thing. Hopefully I haven't missed anything out, but if I have, feel free to leave any comments or questions down below and I will answer them as best I can. Otherwise, I will see you all in my next video. Thank you for watching and peace out. Bye.